So the first question we have to ask is, what is branding? Of course, the most common misconception that we have is that when you have a logo, you have a brand. I wish it was this easy, but alas, good things take time and strategy. We all know that. So branding is how all of the parts of a company work together to create an image. Branding is an idea, a gut feeling, and a story that lives in your customer's mind. And a brand is a promise that your customer believes in. A brand is an emotional experience that your customer has when they interact with you on any level, much more than just a logo design. Branding is powerful. I believe, bias, that branding is the most powerful form of design because it involves an art and a science. Put the two together and you get branding. Great brand strategists study neuroscience and understand how to tell powerful stories that make us resonate and buy. Let's look at a few brands. Of course, my favorite case study is Marilyn Manson. Sasha Strauss said, "Marilyn Manson is not a good singer. He is not a good guitar player. He is not a good songwriter. He has known it from the beginning, so instead of standing around and hoping people would know who he is, he decided he would create an identity for himself, and he has executed it flawlessly. He created a name, a demeanor, and created the concept of the Antichrist superstar. The man's name is Brian Warner. He loves his family and has been married in civil ceremonies, and he doesn't bite the heads off of chickens." Before Marilyn Manson even wrote a song, he defined his persona, his costumes, and his brand. I think it's so interesting to look at Marilyn Manson as a brand because that is exactly what he is. And like Sasha Strauss said, he has truly executed it flawlessly. Marilyn Manson formed his name by mashing together Marilyn Monroe and Charles Manson. Very, very interesting and odd. Marilyn said he was the poster boy for fear, but when you get down to it, he is just a normal person. I sometimes wonder if he wished that his persona and his brand didn't include so much stage makeup, because now he is committed to upholding a brand, wearing all of this thick makeup all of the time. Of course, Marilyn Manson is a pretty abstract brand. Typically, when we think of branding, our minds go to classic brands like Nike, Apple, and Coca-Cola, which many of us have a strong loyalty to. We'll talk a bit more about Nike in a little while. Wally Olin said, "If branding can, in its strange, illogical, and emotional way, encourage people to develop a close rapport with soft drinks, hamburgers, and running shoes, what will it be able to do when its power is released for genuinely significant and worthwhile activities?" You may have heard this quote before because I say it all the time and I love it so much. The answer to what Wally Olins is asking is that it can do amazing, amazing things. I was recently in Nashville and I stopped by Thistle Farms. I had heard of Thistle Farms before and I was immediately interested. Thistle Farms supports women who have survived trafficking, prostitution, and addiction. They provide them with safe housing and a 2-year residential program where they don't have to pay for anything. They provide them with a job and aftercare for when they leave the program, by giving them access to counseling, education, and of course, financial help. Starting with the name alone, you can see that Thistle Farms has been branded. They are telling a powerful story with the entire brand, but they leave nothing untouched by the passion and the dedication they have to healing these women. The name Thistle Farms comes from the misunderstood thistle, the only flower to grow on the streets and alleys where these women of Thistle Farms have walked. Considered a weed by many, the thistle has a deep root that can shoot through concrete and survive. It survives drought. In spite of its prickly appearance, its soft purple flower and profound healing qualities make the thistle a mysterious and gorgeous flower. The thistle has become a symbol of survival and healing for our community and women survivors around the globe. Every piece of the branding has been carefully executed to tell the story of Thistle Farms. From their cafe to their packaging and everything in between, they invite us into a story, allowing the customer to feel like they are making a difference, because they truly are making a difference. Branding allows Thistle Farms to communicate the good they're doing in a concise and fast way. I argue that if Thistle Farms was not branded, they would be doing a lot less good because they would simply have less resources to run the business while giving back. They wouldn't be able to tell their story, and their products wouldn't be seen as high quality as they are today. Branding can change the world, and if not the entire world, it can change a small piece of it starting with you. So I want to ask you guys, what story are you going to tell, and what will you promise your clients and customers? You must know that everything is branded. The reality is that you are already branded. This could be bad news for some of you. Listen, no one tries to have bad branding, but some of us truly do. There have been many times in my own life where my brand was not as clear and concise as it should have been. We have all been there, but we should work to not stay in that space for very long. Even if you haven't gotten around to developing your USP, your brand story, and refining your design, you are still branded. Your customer will always walk away with a gut feeling about your product or service, even if you haven't taken the right steps to develop your target audience and everything we're going to talk about today. They may have a negative reaction to your brand if you have not been concise and compelling. Branding, of course, is a lot like first impressions. We brand and categorize people by their shoes, the band t-shirt they're wearing, the way that they talk, their hairstyles, or maybe they're even tattoos. Or maybe even their tattoos. Girl, I cannot talk today. I need some more coffee. As consumers, of course, we create a story in our mind about the company or the person, even if they haven't told us what the story is. We do this because we pick up on their visual elements, their tone of voice, their brand story, even if they don't have one, their customer service, and of course, their product. When our minds are unguided, we create a story in our subconscious about a product or service or even a personal brand through visual and emotional cues. This is just a technique our brain uses to categorize and package things to better understand them in a world with a lot being thrown at us all the time. We experience brands by our initial gut feeling. A perfect quote that sums this up entirely would be by Al Rees. He said, "Pour a bottle of Gallo into an empty 50-year-old bottle of French Burgundy. Then carefully decant a glass in front of a friend and ask for an opinion. You taste what you expect to taste." We know that perception is reality. So why do we need branding? I think I already answered that, but one, we live in an over-communicated society, and our defense is a simple mind. The only defense our brain has against this oversaturation and constant stimulation is to simplify and categorize. So you and I must simplify in order to rise above the noise. So let's dig into that first brand essential. When customers cannot see a reason to buy one product over the other, they will choose the least expensive if there isn't anything differentiating a group of products. If they seem to have the same value and the same quality, the cheapest product will always win. A well-branded product, on the other hand, will give the customers a meaningful reason as to why they should buy your product. When you have differentiated your brand, you can then add premium prices if that's what you want to do, because people pay for what they value. For example, coffee, running shoes, and cars are commodities, but Starbucks, Nike, and Mercedes-Benz are brands. The way that these companies came to be brands were through a solid brand strategy executed by design. We must work to position brands in the mind of our customers. Positioning is defined as the place that a brand occupies in the minds of the customers and how it is distinguished from the products of the competitors. When I first learned the word positioning, I thought it sounded like sorcery. It was very confusing for me to understand how you could change something in someone's mind and control the way they perceive you. I swear, it literally took a whole semester of college for me to barely understand positioning, and I am still trying to understand it today as I learn more and more. If you are confused about what positioning means, join the club. I am in it too, but I'm here to make it as simple and easy to understand as we can.